Alright. Hello everyone and welcome on back to some Minecraft music. So I wanted to jump in here and this peaceful music going. It was just really fun. Let's see. One of the many reasons I love this game, but hold on. And we're on day 2 of my 4-day weekend, and I'm about to get some serious work done. Work, projects, chores, all sorts of good stuff. I already started fixing up the backyard. So for those that don't know, or those that are just joining us in the Joker Tower, I recently moved into a new rental house, and it's pretty dilapidated. No, it's got a lot of quirks, and you could tell that there were some renters that weren't all the best with it, and I could kind of sense that there was some of that during the application process, because there's like 3 questions on like, you're not going to do criminal activities, you're not going to be a criminal in this place, and you promise you're not going to have criminals over and all this, and like, which is totally fine. I mean, I'm old now, like, or older anyway, and even back in my knucklehead days, I was still very respectful of the places that I rented. Like, I mean, well, for one, I didn't want to break my own stuff, but two, like, actually, I'm past my wild years. So, and a lot of that I think was like, drinking, which that's one thing I noticed in the shed is like there's a bunch of beer bottle labels plastered on this wall, just kind of show off trophies of how many bottles they've drank and stuff. And I remember doing stupid stuff like that. Like we'd put bottles all on the top of our kitchen to show just how much alcohol had been consumed in the house, and mostly just by me and my roommate. Which, yeah, so. Anyways, so, uh, of the projects, things to do. I've been kind of dragging my feet, just I guess because I just don't know how to get started on it. I mean, I guess the progress is moving really slow. So I want to try to get back into Twitch streaming, but there's so many notes from my first attempt, well over 3 years ago. Um, I did it when I was finishing up a cybersecurity boot camp, and I wanted to kind of like practice on being a teacher or a computer science instructor or something, or like a professor one day. And that is one reoccurring theme is once people understand coding and logic and all that, there's a huge tendency to want to be like, hey, go teach someone else, and this is how you do this, and and share that fascination with other people, and those aha moments, because it's just amazing, like the things that you can do, shooting lightning through a bunch of rocks, metal, and plastic, and like, being able to control just ones and zeros, but at such a finite level that, and so completely that you can recreate literally anything, like audio, visual, like it's all able to be represented by digital digits, digital methods, I guess, or digital medium. So, but anyways, the Google Docs. Now, admittedly, that's not the most trustworthy medium, and I'd probably have to put a disclaimer there just to kind of like let people know, be like, hey, you're going to go to a Google Doc. This is publicly available to anyone to view. You can request to be able to comment it. I would suggest using a burner account or like a fake Google account. They're free. You can create as many as you want. Um, and yeah, and I still don't. When I say that, please don't do that to do nefarious things, because they can still track you, and they will. So just don't do it. Sorry if that's loud. In fact, I gotta move this back a little bit. I noticed. I was catching some breathing earlier. So, anyways, the Google Docs to basically outline things. So the Two Taboos playlist on this channel was a good start. It was just where I did these musings, and I just kind of like compared and contrasted Christianity and Islam, talked about politics and my views, the views of people close to me. The more extremes, and I do have a buddy on both extremes. Actually, one, I guess, isn't even more MAGA extreme. He's more libertarian and scary extreme, like just angry, and we're working on that. But and the other one was, of course, like angry at me for not being concerned enough about the pandemic, and which, and I don't know, and I don't fault him for it. I think it's more like just like the hysteria and hype that was built up about it. Um, like all the precautions and everything. And I think it was just kind of like an unfortunate back and forth, like accidental um, expansion of scare and terror and all that. Because basically, like the government said, "Hey, do these things. We want to stop the spread of this thing." And then there was a lot of people like that thought it was a hoax, thought it was fake, and oh, nobody's gonna, and all that. And then, which, oof, and actually, yeah, let's not talk too much about that because I have been flagged before for actually saying something that I thought would like be generally agreeable. But like, anyways, no. But it was just weird for me because I was an essential worker through most of it, and so like I still did go to some place and worked and used tools and built things. I was building wind turbine blades on graveyard shifts. It was already weird. I was working in the middle of the night, barely ever saw the sun except for like at the beginning and the end of my day. Like, I'd see the end of it at the beginning and I'd see it start to peak up. Be all excited to start go doing things and nope, gotta go to sleep. So, and being like zombied out and everything. Uh, Anyways, the Google Docs. So, well, and actually, even before that, there's two places that I'm making websites now. Just basic, very simple websites, reusing stuff that I've already had lying around on CodePen.io, which is a great place to host a lot of static, like single web pages, single page, single file websites. Um, as far as I know, you can do as many as you want. I think I have like I don't know how many are to a page, but I know there's at least like three, maybe 4 or 5 pages of listing of sites. And I guess that depends on the view and the size of your screen too. But because I'm sure it's reactive, uh, that was one cool thing I did when I made a website back in my undergrad. It was like if you like change the size of the window that you're viewing it in, it would dynamically react and reorganize the images. So I did it for a tattoo artist buddy, and he gave me a bunch of his images of his work that he did, and I loaded them all up into a database with a title, description, I think even creation date, as much information as I could put on there with them. And then I would just load new entries into that database, and I made it scalable to where, as you started making new stuff, you could just put, well, I didn't get it that far to where you could actually submit it himself and all that. I still had to put him in the database, but anyway. Um, and then, like, upon the website being visited, it would call some PHP to query the database and retrieve all the pieces of art and the objects. Oh, hold on. And then it would change how many it would display along in each row based on how much size there was. So as you shrunk down the window, it would squeeze the images out, so then they would move to a new line. And until they were just vertical. Like the smallest you could make it is just like a 1 image wide, and then they could scroll up and down with just like a single laddered like type column of just images and descriptions and whatnot. So, but units, each of the little units. And I want to get more into that, like fix those up because I guess my biggest hurdle was hosting a website and then the security of hosting the website. You got to be very careful with all that because you're opening up a lot of ports and things, and you gotta like even try testing it for yourself. Like before you open it up to the outside world, go in and pretend to be malicious and start trying to like snoop around your website and see if you can access things. And only do that to your own stuff. Never do it to someone else's stuff. Because it is illegal, and they are getting much, much better at catching people, and I'm okay with that to a point. Like, I mean, like if people don't know, I guess it would depend on the severity, and of course, well, I hope to think it does. But then again, the war on drugs and everything, like, you would like to think that they would be just and fair about things, but they weren't. I mean, weed being a Schedule 1, like, as being the most dangerous and the worst, like, it's always caught backlash from law enforcement and citizens. Like, so anyways, and that's part of the first Google Doc that I'm going to do is comparing and contrasting all of the different discussion points that I've seen for prohibitionists and cannabis activists. So, which is especially germane considering I'm trying to work with a unified empowerment party, which that's all they do. They work for like national legalization of cannabis. Now, unfortunately, well, let's not even worry about that. And let's not even worry about all of the UEP either. Like, this is really just need to document the main key points. And that way it can be passed around and shown to other people, and people can comment and like, make their own. Just kind of making a trend of cats, concerns and thoughts. They weren't cots. I was saying that this and I think the World War II playlist. I was like, oh, cots, concerns on thoughts. No, it'd be concerns and thoughts. So what's your cat on that? Would be like a common phrase to say. And then people could be like, oh, well, here it is. And then it's just like a Google Doc, a big long Google Doc that has all the different key points. And you can even make them collapsible now. And this is all free. Like, this is a service that Google does for people. And that's why I buy some online cloud storage. So I am like a customer somehow. Same with XApp. I pay so I can have the extra ability to be verified and all that, and like be a little more trustworthy than just a bot account. Little more, because then it's like, and I wonder what people think. And a lot of times I really don't want to know, probably, as they look through my stuff and they're like, oh, or ooh, or So if I make a cat on that for cannabis, Christianity, Islam, I mean, because that's another thing too, is just how people and miscommunications and misunderstandings. Like, I was blocked by one lady on XApp the other day. She was complaining about the prayer to call that Islam has, and like it's starting to pop up in certain cities and towns where you'll hear just the call to prayer. And for as long as I knew, like growing up in a small town with a ton of churches, like we would have church bells go off at noon every day. Or, in BV there was the prison, so you would hear the prison bell, or it was like a foghorn that would signal that it's noon. And so if you were really quiet and listening in your classroom, sitting there in school, you just hear this bong. It's now noon. So, and I get it if you're worried about Muslims being a certain way. Like, if they are like the monsters that they're portrayed out to be, then yeah, that might be a little scary. And then they feed off each other's fear and insecurities, and it mounds and builds until it just spirals out of control. And then next thing you know, you got people. Whoops. Oh, did that all go in the? Oh no. Well, either way, it doesn't matter. I've got tons of stuff, but like they'll take bread and other food, but I don't think they take melons. If they would eat it and use it, that'd be fine. But I thought it went into the composter, which just makes bone meal, which is okay. But and also, I don't think. You do it with melons, or no, sorry, you can do it with pumpkins. You can't do it with melons. I think that is. Let's see, you do that. Oh, you do that too, huh? Well, he'll take them for emeralds. So, but anyways, living with Muslims like I did for a good section of my college, and that was like on the tail end when I was more serious about things and actually trying hard and all that. Not that I wasn't trying before, it was just I was a little lost and maybe could have used like a gap year or 3, but I mean, it was just constant go, 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 and then it was like, yeah, there was a couple serious changes too. Like, I was supposed to be completely doing a different life, and then, nope, sorry, can't do it right now. You can come back in a year. Oh, okay. And then chose school over military. But, and not in a bitter way either. I was actually quite relieved because I was a cigarette smoker at the time. That was like the biggest thing. It's like in basic training, you can't have tobacco. And if you're a tobacco addict, you're addicted to nicotine, like you will kill somebody for a cigarette almost. And it's like, oof. There's a lot of people there like that. So it's kind of messed up, but, oh, anyways. So the cat on that with cannabis, basically taking all the arguments. So a specific example of this like Lisa Schnelling or something like that lady. It seems like an angry parent, which I don't want to be judgmental, right? And that's the thing. I need to continue to show respect and respectfully debate these people and respectfully show that there is no cause for cannabis or really any drug prohibition. Like, the ultimate hardships and things that we impose are exponentially worse than anything that people just using drugs would ever cause. I mean, now granted, the more addictive stuff, like meth and heroin, like that stuff still, like, yeah, it's not good news. And the way you do it too, like, because Oregon tried it where they just decriminalized everything and it just turned into kind of a nightmare. Oops, wait, let's just go ahead and block these up. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So, and we were level 102. That was one of the things I was trying to figure out. All right. So concerns and thoughts. We could do it in the War and Peace. That's right. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start writing them out, and then I'll do the actual Google Doc. But I mean, there's a GitHub website. There's a W3 Schools website, and they've done like a ton of help. They have like complete guides for everything coding. So I guess that's the other thing is just like showing people how to use these tools. That's what I should try to do because I mean that's the other thing that's kind of like delaying me from starting the actual Twitch is because it's like, do I really know what I'm even trying to accomplish? I mean, but it should just be like a ground up approach, like any stage in your education or career. You can come in, learn computer science, learn tech, learn how to do IT, and just build up from there in a nice, calm, relaxed setting. Mm. And I think, well, I could take these, if nothing else. Let's go to the Ministry of Peace, the MOP. Okay. Mm. Oh, all right. So I actually don't have a lot of stuff. I thought I had more like books, writing stuff. War it is then. So I mean, I have done this before, but like, war on weed. No, actually, I can't. I can't do this stuff because I think Minecraft even does the filters and stuff. Well, you know what? Hmm. There. I think that's how it goes. Um. Hmm. It's like the music is right on point. Like, we'll be back after these messages while Alex figures out what he's doing. All right. No, let's just continue to harvest stuff and like let's get some trees. Let's talk about this. So basically, the idea of like arguing and debating with the prohibitionists is being able to show that or prove that cannabis should at least be legal on the same level as alcohol or tobacco. Like the ATF should really be the ATCF, alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, and firearms. Like there's no reason at the base level that weed is even treated as it is. It should be not only decriminalized but legalized and regulated. Um, but then, like, that kind of still goes for just about anything, except for the super addictive stuff, which drug dealers and, like, the ones that are out there for all the wrong reasons, they do add that addictive stuff because they're trying to make a living off of it. They're trying to make money. They're trying to, like, live a comfy life. And they think, oh, okay, well, this is good. And not everybody's like that. In fact, most people are not like that. Most people are more just about trying to just figure out a path to happiness or like to get rid of their depression or to figure out how to thoroughly enjoy this life. I mean, you only get one go around. And with all these things coming out, like, oh, well, actually, this isn't as bad for you and this isn't as bad. So then it's like, you know, and that's how cannabis really is a gateway drug because it just shows how harmless a substance can be. And then it's like, wait, if this is how not bad this is, how not bad is everything else? And then people will figure out, like, oh, okay, there are still some really bad ones out there, like meth and heroin, and now fentanyl. But, like, literally anything else, if done properly and used responsibly, not that bad. So, oh, and DURE, there you go. So, like, there's DARE, there's the drug abuse resistance education. Something else I was thinking about doing is, like, making, like, a thing, a website, not a Scratch program. I wish there was Scratch for adults. Is like basically simplify coding to where anybody can do it. But I guess that is website making. So, all right, getting some good ideas here. So I've got the two websites. I think I'll stick with GitHub for now because I have the landing page, which is my brainstorms page from GitHub or CodePen. And then I have links to Communal, the hippie farms, the Make It Right, the system for people who have taken shortcuts with each other to make it right. Ugh. I guess that's what I was wanting to do, the Twitch thing. Is like, let's build all this while streaming Twitch. That way people can come in, talk about it, and then that's basically like crowdsourcing the research and development for a nonprofit of Communal. Huckleberry Finning people while at the same time providing some entertainment, some camaraderie, some community. So I guess the first thing I need to do is I need to test if my computer can actually capture the sound and all that. Because I didn't even realize, like, I probably don't even need anything. Like, I have meetings on these types of computers all the time. And it's like, well, it's funny because my work computer is very similar to, well, anyways, I shouldn't say that. People that are doxing or taking notes, like, ooh, how do we hack this guy? It's like, despicable people. But like I mentioned earlier, like we are getting better at catching cybercrime, so it's not going to be a big deal for long. And really, I'd like to fix it in more preventative ways, like make it to where people don't feel like they need to, you know, try to figure out what other people are doing or try to steal from other people. Like, if you just made it to where everyone on Earth had the same opportunity, not the same, but like, you know, just as good of like a path to a comfortable life, or making life comfortable for other people. Without accidentally letting hysteria snowball and all that. So, I don't know. That's the other thing, is like just getting a firm grounding of like what's actually going on, especially with like right now. Things are like seem to be in turmoil. Some are, some aren't. I don't know. It's a lot. And just like when I was like, arguments tend to fall apart the longer you talk about things, and it's like, oh, that doesn't seem as bad. I'm trying to remember a specific example, like, well, I guess it goes back to Trump's speeches, like, I mean, because I've watched him talk a few times, and if you just listen to him without knowing anything else or hearing from anyone else, you would be very alarmed. Like, the things that he says and the ways that he says them are very concerning. But then, like, once you hear, like, okay, here's the fact-checked version of it, or the afterthoughts, specifically with his speech to Congress, like, there was the fact check that followed, and almost every single number that he said was inaccurate or like just wrong, flat out wrong. And so that would be important to know, like as you're listening to it. Like the best example is the tax cuts, which were about like 3 or 4% across the board, like for each of the tax brackets. And then they're like, oh, well, that seems fair. You know, if you have no understanding of, you know, percentages and or very little, you know, math, and even in the moment, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying you have to be like a math scholar to be able to follow this. It's just like when you're receiving that information, which is mostly when you're just passively scrolling, looking for entertainment, and then you get a little tidbit of like, hey, you know, how do I even say that? You know, oh, Trump said cut everyone's taxes equally. Like, oh, that's great. So then did he adjust for the fact that a percent of a large number is different than a percent of a small number? Well, no, but he cut everybody with about 3 or 4%. Well, it's very concerning if it's 3 or 4% of, I don't know, a million income versus not even a million. Like if we're talking $400,000 incomes, okay, that's a lot. 3 or 4% of 60,000, it's hardly anything at all. So, I mean, it's still a lot to the person making that, but if you just look at that, it's like saying that that one person's life and work is worth what, even 50, 60, 70 times the worth and work of a different person. Like that's what you're saying. You're making golden gods out of humans, putting them up on pedestals that they don't need to be up on. And at the same time, everybody else is getting slapped in the face, being like, oh, must be nice to just be born in that family with that name. When in reality, and that's the other thing too, and that's one of the things that I'm arguing with this, and I still consider him a friend and colleague, but we just got to sort some things out because we keep coming back to this pointed discussion, but basically understanding the significance and relevance of everything. Because, I mean, he's really up in arms about certain things, but I think it's because he doesn't understand the truth, the reality. I mean, he does, like, about a lot of things, but the actual significance of some of these numbers, like, I don't know. Or even take immigration, like the immigrants, for example. A lot of the times I hear like, oh, they have X amount of crimes and this many. But if you're talking about that many millions of people, which I mean, I think I saw both sides said it was alarming and we need to stop the mass inflow of people and regulate it more. I think that was a bipartisan concern. But it was just like they were splitting hairs on how to go about it, and that's why they just let it suffer and dropped the ball. And honestly, because the Democrats tried to tie it with the Ukraine funding, which at least that's how I see it. And that's where I'm just like thinking that that was kind of shooting themselves in the foot and just playing these games. I don't know. Which I think is part of the longer game. If we were meddling in Ukraine's elections back in 2012 or 2010 or whatever it was, because that's what I heard Putin say. And same with our American 2020 election. Like, you cannot say it was stolen because there's so much anger and backlash. And there's a whole documentary of sketchy doings that make it look pretty bad. And even though I feel pretty confident that there was no cheating, pretty confident, even I was reading a story in the Buena Vista newspaper where they had the recording equipment and it was just this like one piece of specific ancient technology that it dropped and broke. And so the proof that there was no fraud was unaccessible or inaccessible. And I'm just like, what? Do you not know how to use a DVD player or like a phone camera now or like a security camera? Like, there are so many different ways to record like you're supposed to. Like, who signed off on that, first of all? Who thought that would be a good idea? And then, and then the fact that through one accident, it is now broken and we can't have anything to play it on. So the evidence is there. Take my word for it. Trust me. So, I don't know. And same the other way. We need a mulligan, basically, is what we do. We need a mulligan of both political parties. We just need to disband everything, have a temporary thing in place, and just all come together and work from the ground up and just have that clear communication. A new Continental Congress of sorts. So, and actually, you know what? I think that's what this should be. The website doesn't need a name. It could just continue to build and morph. Like, my ideal thoughts of it is like to have some really cool visual where you could have like an issue grow or shrink dependent on weighted factors like actual numbers of people affected or the size of the effect, like how much money goes into this and all that. That way nobody is misunderstanding or misrepresenting or misinterpreting what's going on. Everybody is seeing the same picture and having the same conversations, because that's a lot of it too. A lot of wasted energy and time and effort on debating and discussing misinformation accidentally. Like, you might not understand certain things. And then until you actually see what the other person sees, walk a mile in their shoes, then it's like, oh, okay, I can definitely see. And that's the other thing, like why it's so important that Neil deGrasse Tyson said that one thing about how all humans are only this small percentage different. Like, that's how alike everything is, that you can bet if you treat everybody, and this goes back to the golden rule of Christianity, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And it sounds hokey dokey, it sounds oversimplified, but it is true. Like, because they are people, they're not bog monsters from planet Omicron Persei. Like, just because they have a different skin color, their brains, their body, everything still works the exact same. Like, there is no like, oh, these people from this place have a tail and these people have a fourth leg over here. Like, no, they're all okay. This person, their brain does the same thing. They get offended by the same things. They feel the disrespect in the same ways. Like, okay, so maybe. And then the only thing that is different, like the cultures and everything, is just how those people of that region or area adapted and problem solved to their environment. So again, the same human, if we were all just dropped on this earth in different countries, that's how you get cultures and societies, and the nature, or sorry, and the histories of these people is all a record of this is how we solve this problem. Any problem, indoor plumbing, like health, disease, famine, wars, like these are how we solve these problems. And then you look at other people, oh, okay, this is how we solve the problems. And of course, to, little boys and like young males, I guess is the best way to say that, testosterone and all that, the actual war side is more fascinating, myself included. I loved violent video games growing up, and my son he's way into it too. But I'm keeping a hefty balance of remembering, act as a Jedi. You could be as deadly as you want. In fact, you should be. but you never attack. You always defend, and you always know when and how far to go. And it requires extreme discipline. And actually, that's why I was surprised that. Oh, there's the alarm. We'll finish this thought and then. So, the quote unquote victim in my assault case, the one that I'm trying to like politely fix the situation. Like I can't do anything illegal. I can't attack him. I can't do anything like that. I got to be good, and I'm totally law abiding, and I love it. Like I've never worried about if a law enforcement. I mean, please don't. But like, but if I had to talk to him and say anything, like no longer because cannabis is legal now and blah 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 and all that. So, but uh, the guy played football, so I assumed because he played football that he had the same similar discipline and integrity. Like if any of my football coaches found out if I was like assaulting women or anything like that, they'd run me till I puke. They would be generally frowned upon and shunned by the whole like football team and community. I'd probably have talks with a few people. Like it's just like everybody knows there are certain things you just don't do, and so I thought he had that, and he didn't. Apparently, at least not in that moment. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. Alcohol was involved, a lot of it. So, anyways, ta-ta for now. I'll see you in the next one. Happy Joker Tower. And yeah, I'm going to start the Google Docs, and I need to do some updating here. Oh, but I fixed my setup. I actually did a hardline now. So now I'm using a real Ethernet cable, and now I don't have that issue of having to keep restarting down uploads. So it just means if you thought I was uploading a lot before, no, I mean, I am going to move it to streaming eventually or start doing educational something. And I got to start taking down old ones that aren't as good. So out with the old, in with the new. I'll archive them, put them somewhere. I'm waiting on that to get my data server set up. Um, it's going to take a while because I want to buy new gear, try to have it last as long as I can, and have it secured because I know that I'm a novice at organizing it. And I've actually even been talking to a colleague that we might store encrypted versions on each other's servers or what have you. So, yeah, and it'll be something. Anyways, all right, ta-ta for now. I'll see you in the next one.